It's Cardboard Time, episode number 59, and I'm your host, Arwen Cathke. Well, this is coming out on the day that I'm going in for surgery, so hopefully all is going or has gone well, and I'm well on the road to recovery. I'm a little bit cranky tonight because basically all that I've had since about 10 o'clock this morning is lime jello and water and a cup of coffee. And that's about it. So I did want to get this out. I know that I've been very remiss on my episodes and kind of getting you content. And that has been from a crazy move, which we'll talk about at the back half of the show. And yeah, it's been a thing. This won't be heavily edited at all, so I may be a little bit rambly, but that's what you signed up for. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And on today's short episode, I'm going to be discussing votes for women, as well as giving you some brief updates on my move and kind of how it went and some thoughts that I had on it as well. So just to give you a final Shelf of Shame update before I go in, and you probably won't get one for about another month after this. My Shelf of Shame is at 147. That is up by 5. Of course, a whole bunch of games decided that they needed to come in during my move. Of course, 9 games in total. Astro Knights, which I have already played multiple times before it showed up to my doorstep. A pre-release copy I did get to play, and I'm looking forward to hopefully having a little bit of downtime with this procedure that's coming up. So maybe I can get some more of that in. Votes for Women showed up at my doorstep, and I was super excited to play that. And that's the game that we're going to be talking about today, Cranky Chinchillas, the first game to arrive at the new house. And, you love to see it. You love to see a brand new game coming to a new address. It just kind of feels right. Right before I wound up leaving my old abode, the City Collection by Stefan Feld showed up. So Hamburg, Amsterdam, New York City, and Marrakesh, the special editions, did show up and shipped in 2 separate boxes. It was very interesting. One box was just the inserts, and then the other one was just the games. So it was a very interesting situation. I wound up, before I moved, basically putting the games together just so I didn't have to have 2 separate boxes. I was trying to negotiate. I just had one, so I think that was a wise choice. Marvel Remix. This is one that is basically a reimplementation of Fantasy Realms, I believe, by WizKids. I really like that game, and hopefully I get to talk about it pretty soon. I just really love the idea of throwing Marvel characters in there as well. I think that's going to work out really cool. And then Welcome to the Moon. I actually picked this one up just because I wanted to have something while I was infirmed and kind of laying there, something that didn't take up a huge amount of space, and I could just kind of play on my tray table as I was recovering in the hospital. 3 games I got played. Broken and Beautiful. I played that with my good friends Jordan and Matt, who helped me move. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. Blood Rage finally got out on BGA, and we finally finished it. I never thought that game was gonna end, and I actually won somehow. I don't know how I managed that, but apparently, I just figured it out, and I figured out the right combo. So Very interesting game. Would like to talk about it at some point, maybe once we reconvene with Jamie pretty soon. And then, again, Votes for Women, I did get played and I did get to the table. So let's just dive right into that. Votes for Women is a 2022 release by Tori Brown. The art was done by Brigitte Indelicato and Mark Rodrigue and published by Fort Circle. Now, Votes for Women is a card-driven game covering the American women's suffrage movement from 1848 to 1920, culminating with the ratification or rejection, hopefully not, of the 19th Amendment. The game provides cooperative, competitive, and solitaire play, with cooperative and solitaire play against the Opabot. To win, the suffragist player must have Congress pass the proposed amendment and then have 3/4 of the states, 36 of the then 48 states, ratify the amendment. The opposition player wins by either preventing Congress from passing the proposed amendment or by having 13 states reject the amendment. The game lasts for 6 turns, a turn consisting of drawing cards from the player's own decks, bidding on strategy cards, and then 6 rounds of card play where a player may play a card for an event or discard a card to campaign, organize, or lobby Congress. If Congress has proposed the amendment, but neither 36 states have ratified nor 13 states have rejected, by round 6, then the game goes to final voting. Actually, that's at the end of round 6, or turn 6. The difference between turns and rounds was very interesting. It kind of confused me, but the turn is kind of the more overall overarching structure, and then a round is within a turn. So kind of the opposite of what I've grown up with. But this was a review copy that was provided by Fort Circle Games, so much appreciation to them. I did express interest in the game early on, and they were very kind enough to send me a copy. Women's suffrage is a very important topic, and one that I surprisingly didn't know as much as I probably should have, and definitely was interested to learn more about. The Seneca Falls Convention happening, I want to say it was at like 4 hours away from, where I grew up. So in the same state, it was in New York. Yeah, so it really is a very important topic and one that I should know more about, and I don't. But now I do, which I will talk about in a minute here. This was very simple to learn and pick up. Rules video will get you exactly where you need to go. But the manual was also pretty well written, very easy to parse and look up any rules clarifications that you needed. Not very thick either. I want to say it was maybe 8 pages that you would have to go through, and that covers everything. The Automa, or the Opabot, as they call it, was extremely easy to manage. Basically flip over a card, and do what it says as long as the condition is met, or if it says just do this, then just go ahead and do it. Very easy to manage that and kind of get that together. So for as, kind of intimidating a game as some historical games can look like, this one was very easy to kind of parse and navigate. So many kudos to them for making something that was very easy to use. There are lots of comparisons to Twilight Struggle, as many of these games do have, playing cards for either their events or to campaign, organize, or lobby Congress. Just basically the same kind of overall struggle back and forth between two sides, and that push and pull and that tug of war that you like to see in good 2-player games. Obviously, it's going to compare a lot to Twilight Struggle, but there was enough different going on here that this game can stand on its own, despite those comparisons. The flavor text was great to read. It was quite educational. There were some of the Opabot cards I was reading, and I'm like, I do not like these people one bit. Some of the things that they said, and some of the statements that were made were just, you look back at them and it's harsh. it's really harsh in a harsh time period. And also, in addition to the flavor text, there were great little add-ins. There were little pieces of paper of historical notes, so copies of famous documents and things like that, letters that were sent, different, things that just, it didn't have to be in there, but it was great that it was in there because you could read through it and you could learn more about history, either before or after you got done playing. So that was also very nice. And there was a little reference guide to the states if you're not from the US and don't know the abbreviations. The board is filled with abbreviations, and sometimes you need a little bit of help parsing those out. There was a guide to help you out with that. Again, the gameplay did feel like a battle. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted that struggle back and forth, as political movements often are. Just that push and pull, where one side will do one thing, then another side counters, and so on. So this did feel like a back and forth struggle. I also swore that the Opabot was cheating at first, but once I started getting more of these state cards on my side for their powerful one-time abilities, I was able to stave off the Opabot's offense. I might actually level it up a little bit next time I played. It's very interesting because I figured that there was a bidding process at the beginning of the round so that you could go and get these strategy cards, which would give you, on your turn, a very powerful one-time ability that you could play in addition to your played action. And I was right in the fact that you needed these because essentially it gave you another turn, and some of those turns were very, very powerful, that you could kind of combo off of and use to maybe get more states, or get the resources that you would need from more strategy cards. So it really was one strategy that you do want to go into the game kind of focusing on, is making sure that you at least get some of those strategy cards that are really going to help you. I really like that. And the state cards basically come to you when you're able to go and get enough cubes in the state. It's 4, so basically you get 4 of your color cubes in the state, and then you get to take that card for its action. So it's nice, nice little touch there that you've secured that state, you've won them over, and they're going to help push you towards victory. So one comment that I've heard, and I have to address, is there are a lot of people that I saw online that were saying that it was very uncomfortable to play the anti-suffrage movement. And I think that's because it's supposed to be. That's the whole point. If you're feeling uncomfortable, and this is very comparable to the man in Stonewall Uprising, you're on the right side of history. That means you have a conscience. That means that it feels bad to do the wrong thing. So that's a good thing that it feels bad to do that. And I like to emphasize that because it should not feel comfortable. And it's not going to be for everybody, but it is, a feeling that, yes, you do have a conscience about this and that you are on the right side of history when you're talking about this. I will say that the ability to play cooperatively is a nice touch. It helps kind of stave off some of those feelings. If you do want to play this 2-player, you can play it cooperatively. You don't have to play against each other, so you don't force one person into that experience of having to play the anti-suffrage movement. That is, if you don't mind playing games in a co-op manner. So this, as my final judgment, this is an outstanding game. I got done with this and I kept thinking about it over and over again, like, just what it did right. The historical references, the easy to learn and pick up, the easy automa, the way that they put those little add-ins into the box. Everything about this was done so incredibly well. This is another game also that, in my opinion, is kind of changing my mind on exactly what games can be and what they can do from an educational standpoint. You're able to get something like this to the table, and it does educate. You can get it out in the classroom. I would say even easier than a game like Stonewall. I've talked about the educational opportunities that you have there, but definitely I feel like this would be an even easier one to get out to the table if you had enough copies with your classroom and get the kids learning about what this was. The final thing that I did, and also, by the way, this is going to be a long time resident on my shelves, and I'm looking forward to more time with the table, obviously. The one thing that I do want to say, I did hear Tori at a event, I believe it was at Labyrinth Game Store in DC, and Tori was talking about the effect that she hoped that everything had from making this game was that people would find a movement that they're passionate about and, make sure that they're involved. Whether that's the League of Women Voters or whether that's, any sort of human rights campaign, any sort of LGBTQ rights campaign, find something that you're passionate about that's going to make the world a better place and a kinder place, in a more equal place. And, just go ahead and do it. I think we need a lot more involvement with people in different movements and fighting for equality and fighting for rights of people that don't necessarily have them and are marginalized. So I think this game can also act as a parallel to so many rights movements that are out there. And I, again, gravitate towards the LGBTQ rights movement and the fight for trans rights, which is a very real thing that we're going through right now and struggling with. And you can see the things that were said by certain senators, or influential people, over the years, and the things that were said in this game just translate over almost directly, which is scary. It's really scary, but it's also extremely valuable to learn about this and see that, so that you're able to kind of connect the dots and put those two together. So definitely recommend this. Go out and get it if you haven't already, or at least take a look at it from a friend's table. This is one that is definitely a wonderful, wonderful game that I would recommend to anybody, and that is Votes for Women. So I did want to talk briefly about the move. It was a big ordeal. And again, this is going to be a very off-the-cuff episode, unedited, shorter, obviously, but it took up a lot of my time. And first of all, I need to give a huge thank you to Matt and Jordan, who helped me lug all sorts of board games to my basement. My collection is gigantic, and when you have to pack everything up into bags and move it individually one by one, it's kind of crazy. It gets a little bit ridiculous. It gets very tiresome, and you're like, why do I have all this? But Matt and Jordan also, were able to bear a lot of that load for me once I got up here, and really took a lot of time to help me. 2 nights that they took to come over, lug games, put them up on the shelves, and it really, really helps. So a huge thank you to Matt and Jordan if you're listening. Again, I could not have done this without you, and much appreciation. Looking forward to some game nights with those games that you helped move. And it did take over 70 bags for me to move my whole collection to storage, and so many things going on. I can't exactly remember how many bags it was, but I think it was like 73. It's on Twitter. Go check Twitter. The results are there. So congratulations to our contest winner. And I'm just trying to figure out exactly everything to say here. But a lot of bags, a lot of movement, a lot of effort to get everything into storage. And that goes for my other belongings, because that was a whole ordeal. We wound up filling up 2 27-foot trucks. I thought that we were going to need 1. We needed 2. I thought that we were going to need 1 day. We needed 3. But basically we had 2 days to get out, and fortunately, my friends Zoe and Lizzie were able to get the truck, and then all sorts of friends came over to help load it. Unfortunately, with the way that things kind of worked out, I had to unload most of the stuff at night by myself. Between Allie and I, we basically had to unload everything, and it was rough. But we did it. We got it done in pretty much 3 days. And it was worth the extra time just to let the truck sit in the driveway and just empty it the next day and just be done with it. So, it was a tough move, but it's already been great. It's already been great, seeing my friends up here and having them come up and help out. Jamie helped move some stuff. Matt and Paulina helped move some stuff. Jordan, other Jordan, Logan, I know that I'm forgetting people, but, there was so much help, and it was greatly appreciated. It was a huge ordeal. But seeing diversity at the supermarket and going and having options of places to eat, which I really wish I could eat right now, but I can't. So, again, I'm rambling. You signed up for this, but it does. The basement, getting back to that, really does look great. Standing with Matt and Jordan and talking with them really gave me a reminder of the great times that I had in my old house, talking in front of my shelves, marveling at the different art, enjoying time with friends. And that is what I value most about the collection. It isn't necessarily even the games themselves. Again, I've said it time and time again. It's the time that's spent with friends. And, that's why I'm looking forward to most when I get back from surgery. Even though this was a tough time, this really did prove that, I've got some really good friends, and looking forward to spending some nights around the table with them. And then finally, I wanted to wrap this episode up by, talking about a question that Matt asked me as we were packing up bags. And I thought it was fantastic. and he asked, now that you've had to move all these games, do you look at them differently now? Would you say that you want to keep more of them, or purge them, or what's your feeling? What are you going through? And I absolutely do. I do look at them differently now. I do look at them, and I look at some of them, and I'm like, why did I move this? And it wasn't that they're bad games necessarily, but a couple of them I just threw into the sale pile because I was like, there was no reason for me to keep this. There was no reason for me to move this. This one I'm not excited about. And I think anytime that you go through your collection, you kind of get those vibes from certain games that you're just like, I can do without this. And I do think that I need to be a little bit more critical, even more critical than I have been, about what I keep and, what I decide needs to find a new home. And I'm pretty sure that falls right in line with the cycle that Tia talked about in that article that Gil Hova had written about the cycle that we go through as gamers, where we're all excited at first, and then by the end of it, we kind of have this knowledge of what we like, what we don't like, what appeals to us, what doesn't, what themes do we love, what themes do we hate, all those things. I think it's so true, and I keep coming back to that, and it keeps coming up in my mind. So I think the same also goes with a lot of the stuff that I have, all the different things I've acquired over the years, some of which I was able to just toss. We had about 20 contractors' bags worth of just stuff that we were like, we're just getting rid of this. And we had more that went to Goodwill. And I anticipate there being more once we go through the mess that's in the garage and figure out exactly what's going on with that. But I figure if this game or this item doesn't serve a distinct purpose, or there isn't like a core memory that's associated with it, a game like Dungeon Quest I'm going to keep around forever. It's the game that got me into gaming. It's the game that brought me into this hobby, and that I'm so very fortunate to be part of. If there's no function there, I think that it's kind of time to go. And, the last thing was, and I was visiting with my parents today. They came up. They're going to help me while I'm in the hospital. I looked at my bar that I don't have anymore from my old house. And honestly, it was nice, and it was fantastic to have that. But I don't think it's that huge of a loss. My life has changed dramatically over the past, 6+ years since I've had the house, right? And in 2016, when I purchased it, that was one thing that I just want a bar in the basement. It's wild to think about, exactly where I've come from. And I just don't feel that need to have it anymore. And it was such like a major driving force for me to have this place. I don't feel the need to really drink excessively anymore. I don't feel the need to have all these different, alcohols on hand. I can go out. I can, go to a friend's place. I can buy, a couple of different, bottles if we're going to go and have cocktails and hang out. And I think that driving force for the bar for me really was to provide that gathering place, right? It had always been that gathering place. It had always been about friends for me. And now I have that just in and of my collection and my house. A gathering place where people can come and hang out and have a great time and just chill out, and we make these great memories together. So that is one thing that really, really hit me hard. And sometimes you have to evaluate those things in your life and ask, what's really important to me? What do I absolutely need? And then what, can I live without? There's sometimes nice to haves, and then there's other times where it's just like, I can deal without this. And I think I think that's something that really hit me today. So again, rambling, but you signed up for this. It's the night before my surgery, and I'm going to talk. And speaking of which, I should probably go because I need to get some rest, and I need to let all of you go. But anyways, if you would like to know more about the show, you can check out our website at cardboardtime.com. Our Instagram and Twitter is at cardboard_time. Any questions, suggestions, or ideas for discussion topics, please email cardboardtime@gmail.com. And you are going to want to tune in 2 weeks because we have a wonderful episode of Cardboard Time with Court Sackmar. Fantastic time talking with her. And I'm sad that I had to delay that for 2 weeks to get this out with the timing and everything. I did need to push that back, but you are going to love it. And it's going to be a little bit of bonus content for you to experience and really have some fun getting to know Court and hear our chatter, because I just love talking to her. So as always, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around the table in 2 weeks for another episode of Cardboard Time.